Welcome to the Duarte Show. I'm your host, Duarte. Like it or not, Connecticut's currently living and still is living under the house of Daniel Molly. He has had more impact on our state more than any other governor. He has, since any other governor since Roddy Rell. All of our taxes, high taxes, the sluggish economy and GDP, mass taxation, um, chaos and left our state in a mess can all be traced back to his legacy. Turns out, from the years 2011 to 2019 was the years of doom for our state. Not only his administration single-handedly crashed our economy, he had the largest taxation increase in our state's history, facing the budget deficit, which critics argue that the economic slump that basically charged our economic decline in 2008 after the 2008 recession. During the Daniel Molly's time as governor, the decision to make taxes and the state budget left more for families and young people struggling to keep up with rising costs. He basically cut services for families, youth, and basically everyone in Connecticut just by raising taxes. His goal was more taxes, less spending. His model was for that. Just like in our state, we have seen the economic decrease that we have seen. The economic growth often didn't reach neighborhoods that needed it, like here in Waterbury. Most resulting leaving young people and working families limited with opportunities. Many feel during the Mali leadership, long-term investment in education, jobs, and affordable housing fell short for communities like ours that needed it. And this was the fault of him. But now, what we're seeing in our state, our current governor, Lamont, is currently proposing new taxes and wanting new taxes, and his party wanting new taxes to pay for his program that already 90 what not 92 29.9 9% of schools already offer, and already 79.9% of schools already do when it gives a cheaper price. They want to impose a new soda tax that will pay for it. Mind you, if you let's say you go buy a can of soda and you buy this can of soda and the per ounces of the soda, which this is water, but the per ounces is a 12 liter. Not is a 35 liter, right? And if you buy that soda, you'll be paying up to an upcharge of 64 cents. And now in restaurants, instead of paying $1.99, you will be paying $3.99, an increase of that, depending on what restaurant you go to now. Local restaurants cannot afford the taxes we have. And earlier, and if you can see on your screen, earlier, Lamont proposed a new bill to remove gas-powered leaf blowers. Then, U-turned on the policy. Our governor has U-turned on policy after policy after policy, and it has been shown to basically do that. Maybe it's time, and we need to talk about how our state can be more affordable. That is the plan, and not the plan, but that is the idea of today's episode on how we can get to the bottom and how can we get Connecticut to be affordable and how can we get our state from where it's at. Welcome to the Duarte Show. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on YouTube and also on Spotify to keep up with the Duarte Show. An exclusive episode talking about economic plans for our state and how our state can work will be out Monday at 1 o'clock. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe here on YouTube and follow us on Spotify. And also follow the socials that will be on your screen. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Duarte Show. Let's dig in. Welcome back to The Duarte Show. Let's talk about, and let's talk and start with the numbers. Connecticut is the most expensive state in our country, We are the fourth. We have the fourth highest property tax in our country. The cost of living is basically higher than it was ever before. But if you look at it where we are now, we are the most highest tax state compared to California. Connecticut has now entered the ranks of where California is when it comes down to taxes. And I personally believe taxes should be cut across the board. Not across the board, but cut for middle class families. Give them relief for taxes. But if you look at it over the years, prices and taxes just been going up and up and up. Recently, Vermont proposed a gas tax, right? In 2000, I believe in the beginning of its term, he introduced a gas tax that will pay for our roads and bridges. And now that gas tax is possibly, I believe, is now frozen because, with the war in Iran. But the true issue is people have been pushing for the gas tax to be frozen. No one is blaming anything else besides, what's happening in the Middle East. The Middle East, what happened in the Middle East is in a direct cause of what's happening in our country right now with gas prices, which is very bad. That's happening, but we also have to hold our governor accountable for refusing to freeze the gas tax when gas was around $3 before the war in Iran. We should not forgive our governor for just imposing a gas tax. That we can get our resources from the surpluses that we have left over in our budget. About $10 million would be left over in the surpluses that can one afford his free breakfast and lunch for all program in schools. That can also fund our roads and bridges. It's very simple for us to do. Um, but where can we start? Well, we can why is it happening? Well, we have a housing shortage here in Connecticut. It's not enough affordable housing and apartments for people to get by. And, there's not a lot of housing to meet people's demands. The wages and cost, many people are not able, sorry, wages versus cost. People's wages are so low, they can't keep up with the cost of everything. So people are left short-handedly. A full quart of groceries will cost around $1,000 here in Connecticut, especially with all the taxes that we have: seat to deposit, water tax, bottle tax, soda tax, if it gets approved, um, and all these other taxes that we have. It's crazy. The property tax, everything. Yes, property tax pays this and pays that, but if we look at in aspect of, okay, if we have about $10 million from the gas tax, right? And that's going to the roads and bridges. You don't need another tax. If you have 10 million from a surplus that you have leftover money from the budget, $10 million, you don't need a soda tax. Personally, you don't need it. It's not needed. I mean, taxes and regulation against businesses. We have a business tax that hurts small businesses. I spoke to small business owners, and they can't get by because of the business tax here in Connecticut. The nationwide inequalities that we have, where low income areas aren't really looked after. Here in Waterbury, we have areas in our city that are low income, but our government here aren't isn't really looking after them or really taking very much good care of them. They're really left there to die. I mean, hell, if the gas tax is paying for our roads and bridges here in Waterbury are not getting fixed. I mean, hell, we have potholes after potholes. I mean, I spoke to people on Waterbury Talks, and they basically said the same thing I'm saying. The potholes are crazy here, and nothing is getting done. And if we look at it in a sense of, okay, what can young people do about it? One, we can stand up, go to the state Congress, testify against it. I mean, we don't have no job opportunities here in Connecticut. I haven't been able to get a job because there's no jobs available here in Connecticut. We should one, get rid of the business tax. Get rid of it. It doesn't fund anything. It doesn't. Get rid of the business tax. Get rid of all the useless taxes we don't need. The business tax, and the other tax that we have. And then start taxing the corporations that are leaving our state left to dry. tax those corporations. We should. It's not impossible. We should. Then we lower the property tax rate. We lower it. We basically pause the property tax because that's what is crushing families as groceries go up because of the Trump administration, because of that, just because of everything. We can do that. We can also fix, you know, income tax. Pause the income tax. We can do that as well. Connecticut has a lot of economic opportunities. We can simply, first of all, we can end the the car tax. The car tax does not go to anything. It doesn't fund anything. You should not be having a car payment. We're the only state that does this, by the way. You should not be having a car payment. Then at the same time, you have a car payment. You have to pay car tax every year. Families are devastated with the prices of everything. Connecticut is not an affordable state anymore. And we have to realize that. I'm not here to bash politicians, even though we should hold the politicians accountable. We should. Don't make me wrong. Don't get me wrong on that. We should hold them accountable. But what can actually fix the problems here in Connecticut is one, housing. First step is simply building affordable housing and apartments that include reforming zoning rules and allowing smaller units and multi-family homes. Programs like community land trust and that can keep homes affordable for years. For developers who build affordable housing rather than luxury apartments, who are also important, but affordable housing is very important here in Connecticut. We don't have a lot of that here. Our second is wages and employment. We should have everyone getting paid a living wage. You should not be getting paid something that is not a livable wage here in Connecticut, especially with the prices that we have here. If we cannot match your wage with the cost of everything here in Connecticut, our government has failed, our state has failed, and this should be a warning call for everyone. Tax and cost. We should rebalance taxes, make it a big difference. High property and income taxes that hit family the hardest, adjusting them will allow um, families to be able to live more and able to get the need things they need for the family. But actually, you know, increasing the property tax for corporations to pay whatever we lose from lowering the property and income tax. We have a lot of corporations here. In our state, we have a lot of corporations. And we can also increase corporation tax. Increase the corporation tax. Because if we don't increase the corporation tax, we're gonna have to keep increasing the income tax and increasing the property tax to just get money by into our budget. That's what's basically needed. And the clowns, oh my god, the clowns in Hartford, man, just trying to impose more taxes on everyday Connecticut residents every single day. It's a new tax. Ryan Fazio, a Republican, wants to impose a new bottle tax that will increase the price of the original bottle tax to tax people from New York, but that is hurting people from Connecticut. It really is. It is hurting people here in Connecticut for the simple fact is you're just imposing a new tax on us instead of, you know, penalizing people coming from New York and taking businesses here. Hell, the way we also can get affordable is having tolls. It is not that hard. Be like New York. Yes, we love the idea of being a toll free state. Oh, you don't got to pay a toll to come here. But they're ripping everyone who comes from New York or Pennsylvania and they're businessmen. They're ripping our state off. They're ripping families off here. They're not doing anything with the houses they have here in Connecticut. They're not. And it's important that we talk about this because if we're gonna have housing, right? We can't just be giving out the housing to anyone. Like it's crazy to think about if we are in a state that we're not taxing these people who are coming in here, but we rather impose more taxes on people who live here than but they rather tax more people and also cut $12 million from education. Serious question for everyone watching at home. Who is electing these people to our state government? Who is seriously going to vote for the same old playbook that doesn't work, that will never work? Never. We just let these politicians just tax us endlessly. And now they want to raise the not property tax, the hospital tax on hospitals in their budget. These same politicians who swear up and down they care for the people of Connecticut. They love the people of Connecticut. They will do anything for the people of Connecticut. These are the same people who sit here and have you pay millions of dollars in taxes, but give you a rebate of $400. Let that sink in. They rather these people, these clowns, these politicians, sorry, these politicians rather have you pay more in taxes than you get back. They want you to pay more in taxes than you get paid back. Rough estimate, you pay about $1,000 each year for every tax we have. $1,000, rough say, right? And I don't know if that's true, but let's say $1,000. But the rebate that you get from filing your taxes after you paying all your taxes is only $400, and that's only for certain demographic, by the way. If you're a family of four, you get 400, 200, 100. That's your rebate. We have people controlling our state and having our state in a chokehold, which I'm realizing that when everything that we can do to make our state affordable is to have more local services, reduce the cost of living costs, rental assistance. We can have food programs, youth incentives to give people a fighting chance to stay with their community. We can fix this problem. We can. But if we want to bring it closer to home, so living in Waterbury, living in Connecticut, Waterbury and across Connecticut. Let's talk about the people most skipped over. What young people can actually do about it, right? To make a difference. It's easy to feel powerless that the state government is so far away. It's in Hartford, and we live here in Waterbury, or you live in another town. We cannot. We're not the ones making decisions, but we can also help housing developers make decisions we don't control. Wages are being set by big companies that don't that this doesn't mean you can do action, by the way. You can hold those people accountable by protesting, by talking out against the mayor or anyone who's making legislation that is imposing against your freedoms. First, imagine a young student in college working two jobs just to pay rent, even scholarships, even with a scholarship. They're struggling to cover tuition and living costs. Every paycheck, every paycheck goes to the essentials: food, transportation, rents, leaving at the most important things, even for emergencies, leaving nothing for emergencies. Thinking about a family who lived at the same neighborhood for decades. Suddenly, property taxes and rent increased, and they have to leave. People in Connecticut are leaving. They're leaving because things are too expensive. It's impossible to grow if you have a business because of how many restrictions you have. And they want to hire people. It's not just numbers, they are real experience, but it's very low wages. It's a trade off. But here in the Youth Council Revolution, we want to hold the politicians accountable for what they're doing to us. We're holding Blood Lamont for the past two episodes already. And for Connecticut, for the past two episodes we spoke about Connecticut. And I'm holding Ned Lamont responsible for the high taxes and the new taxes. But now I'm holding a party that I align with, the Democratic Party. I'm holding them accountable for letting this go under their nose and not saying anything about it. We don't need to be an expensive state. We don't. We have opportunities here. Put the toes, cut down business restrictions, and get things moving again here in Connecticut. I beg the adults in charge to get things done for our state. Because cities like Waterbury are not going to last if we keep with the same old tired playbook that we have now. What's going on in Hartford, what the politicians are doing there, the lobbyists are doing there, are not helping the people here in Connecticut. Right? They want to cut 12 million from magnet schools. They want to cut that. They want to cut $345 million from education. Just for what? For a program that already exists. And you can find other ways to pay for it. Connecticut is an expensive state because of the politicians we elect. It's that simple. For the politicians we elect, this is what we get. We can cut property taxes. We can cut income taxes. We can at least lower the gas tax. That will save us 44 cents per gallon. We can do all this at toes. We can cut small business restrictions, opening up zoning, free zoning, reform the zoning system. We can have affordable businesses. We can affordable companies. We can increase the corporation tax that has not been increased. Corporations are having a chokehold on Connecticut. And for the love of God, we don't need to raise the taxes on hospital properties. That will raise premiums, and that will raise fundamentally everything that we have. Healthcare costs will go up. Connecticut, this is not a just me rambling on about taxes. This is about life or death for our state. We cannot afford another year or another 4 years of the same old monarchy we have here in Connecticut. And I advise the people who are able to vote to get out there, vote, listen to the candidates. Lamont has been saying the same thing. Oh, the affordability. I laugh every time he talks about it, or any politician in Hartford talks about it, because they're the ones doing this to us. They're the ones doing it to us, and they don't care. So I end up with this. We can have affordable housing. We just need to build them. We can have wages. We can just raise the wages and cutting the income taxes. We can have lower taxes here. We can, cut cost. But also we can have better local services by strengthening public transit and community programs, reducing living costs, rental assistance, food programs, and incentive to give people a fighting chance to stay within their community, to stay within our state. Our state does not need to be like this. If you care about Waterbury and you care about Connecticut and you care about the affordability and the future of our state, do not wait. Speak up, take action, engage, because what's happening in our country is affecting us. And it's time for us to fight for the generation to come and the generation to fight back against what's happening in our state. Enough is enough. It is time for change. It is time for something different, Connecticut. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this episode.